learned something about trilogies. They actually need something with the number 3 in them to count as a trilogy. It doesn't matter, there are going to be 197 items in a trilogy as long as one of the things has the number 3 in it somewhere. Last week, I took a look at the first 3 Mario games. I came to the conclusion, they're fine. But it took a lot out of me. Playing Mario was exhausting. Unfortunately, none of those games had the number 3 in their title. So, I have one more game to take a look at. Oh, and as punishment for ending the trilogy early, the universe has decided to trap me somewhere terrible.
A beach!
Now you might be thinking, oh, the beach? That sounds like a great place to get stranded. But this is the last place I want to be. The beach is terrible. There's salt water and that tastes bad. I don't know. I just want to go home. Oh my god, this game is incredible! When I took a look at the first 2 Mario games, I realized 3 things. Number 1. The first Super Mario Bros. Is a perfectly fine game that was able to phenomenally start the Super Mario franchise. Unfortunately, just like any cheese, it's aged. A couple less than ideal level design moments here and there, but overall it's fine. Number 2. Super Mario Bros. 2, or Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels as it's more commonly known, is awful. No further comments. Number 3. Super Mario Bros. 2 is a weird Mario reskin of another game that is just okay. It's not an unenjoyable experience, but it is very weird. And yeah, that's it. These games are pretty good at best, and something that needs to get out of my life and go think about what it's done in Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. So when the universe decided to trap me at the beach with its disgusting salt water and forced me to play Super Mario Bros. 3, I was not excited at all. And never have I been more proven wrong. This game is so good! Super Mario Bros. 3 was put into development right after Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels released in Japan in 1986. Shigeru Miyamoto, the man responsible for the previous Super Mario Bros. Games as well as a bunch of Nintendo's other franchises, was heading this game as well, and he wanted to make sure there would be a bunch of crazy new ideas to ensure the game would be as interesting as possible. In fact, this game was so big, the team ended up using something called an MMC, which is a special kind of chip companies could put in NES cartridges to squeeze more power out of the console and do things you wouldn't normally be able to do without one. So it's like steroids for an NES. Great, next thing you're going to tell me is my Nintendo Switch can get addicted to meth. Super Mario Bros. 3 released in Japan on October 23rd, 1988. However, a shortage of parts stopped Nintendo from releasing the game outside of Japan for a while, which ended up working out for them since Super Mario Bros. 2 released earlier in America that same month, and if 2 Mario games released within the same month, things would be catastrophic. But in the background, Nintendo was also working with Universal to make this movie The Wizard. I don't know. It's about some kid who's really good at video games and travels across America to be in a competition. I don't know, I haven't seen it, I just looked it up on Wikipedia because I know nothing about it. Other than that, it has Mario 3 in it. Yeah, since Nintendo was delaying a bunch of their games in North America, they decided to promote these games in The Wizard. And that's really the entire legacy this movie has. I don't even know if it's good or not. The only thing I do know is that this was the first time anyone outside of Japan got to see Super Mario Bros. 3. Anyways, the game finally released in North America on February 12, 1990 and came to Europe on August 19th in 1991. Now that's Super Mario Bros. 3, which means I have finally finished talking about the classic Mario trilogy and I can finally go home. I forgot I have to actually play the game. The story of Super Mario Bros. 3 is that Bowser, the king of the Koopas, has kidnapped Princess Peach. Okay, that's enough. I get it. Bowser Kidnapping Peach has only been the plot of 2 Mario games so far and it's already old. Except this time it's a play. What? For a while there was a fan theory going around that Super Mario Bros. 3 was actually just a performance put on by the Mario cast. You've got the curtain rising on the title screen, some level elements look like they have screws on them and cast shadows, suggesting they're part of a set, and when Mario finishes a level, it kinda looks like he's running off stage. Eventually, Miyamoto himself confirmed that this was in fact done on purpose, and that Mario 3 was just to play the whole time. Which can only mean one thing. The next Mario game is going to be a musical. I cannot wait for Bowser to do a musical number on how evil he is. Alright, before I say anything about the gameplay of Super Mario Bros. 3, I would just like to draw attention to the fact that this game looks incredible for the NES. Everything just looks so clean and polished, which probably has something to do with the outlines around everything. It just makes the game so much more distinct in its art style. I mean, Mario 2 had a similar style, but this game just feels like a more refined take on that, and I love it! Also, the music here is phenomenal, some truly iconic tracks here. I mean, nothing will ever reach the recognizability of the original Super Mario Bros. Overworld theme, but the music here is still incredibly memorable. The Overworld theme, the athletic theme, and all of the world map themes. It's all just so good. This game is so good, my god! Okay, sorry. Just needed to get that out of my system. We can talk about the actual game now. So after we hit start, we are greeted to... What? What am I supposed to do with this? Do I look like a cartographer to you? Yes. Now, instead of being dropped right into level after level, worlds are given their own maps to walk around and select the levels from. You can also equip power-ups before you enter a level here too, which is actually very nice. I mean, the world map's really nothing that spectacular. There are some branching pathways and a couple bonus minigames to play where you can win power-ups and one-ups, but past that, they're just a linear path. But even this one little addition just makes the game so much better. It does such a better job of splitting the worlds up and making them feel distinct. Especially since each world map has its own unique music, and each world also has its own theme. Like, World 1 is just generic Mario stuff, World 4 everything is huge, and World 7 has a bunch of pipes. Just these little additions and changes keep the game interesting and exciting. So when we hop into World 1, whoa, that's not the same. Alright, so right off the bat, we've got a fair amount of changes to the Mario formula. First of all, Mario feels way better to control here than in the first two games. It just feels a lot tighter, and it feels like I have a lot more, control over where Mario goes. Also, we can turn around. Yes! Being able to turn around isn't even that big of a deal, especially since you could do it in Mario 2, but I don't know, being able to turn around makes it feel like there's a lot more freedom with what I can do, and it allows levels to add more stuff since you could actually turn around and grab something if you missed it. And of course, we can't forget about the ability to pick up Koopa Troopa shells. Everybody knows about Koopa Troopas. You jump on them, they go in their shell, and then you can kick the shell around to defeat other enemies. But now, if you hold B and walk up to a shell, you can pick it up and carry it around and throw it, which gives you more control over where the shell goes and what it runs into. And yeah, Mario 2 let you pick up everything and throw it, but Mario 3 just feels more fluid since you just need to let go of B for a split second to throw a shell, and the game is also a lot faster than that game, so it feels a lot better here. Speaking of speed, you may have noticed this fancy little P meter down here with the rest of the UI, like lives and coins and the time left in a stage. I will say I prefer everything down here. It just condenses all the information you need into one spot rather than sprawling out over the top of the screen. Anyways, the P meter down here fills up by sprinting. When it fills up, it makes a little flutter sound, and Mario gains a much higher and floatier jump. Now, this may sound mildly irritating, but thanks to the tighter controls, it's actually really fun. But of course, this is really here to add another layer to the incredible new power-up here, the Raccoon Leaf. That's right, we've actually got some new power-ups in this game. The Hammer Bros Suit, which allows you to cosplay as literally the worst thing in existence and throw hammers. It's okay. There's also the Frog Suit, which gives you weirder land controls, but actually competent swimming controls. That's also okay. But the star of the show is the Raccoon Leaf, which is way better than okay. After collecting it, Mario will get a raccoon tail and ears. Okay, I don't think anybody was asking for that, but sure, why not? This gives Mario a little spin attack that can defeat enemies and hit blocks. It also gives him a float ability. Oh, see, I told you this game was great. Every game is made 100% better when a character has a float ability. Where spamming the A button will cause you to fall slower. But of course, if you fill that P meter up with the Raccoon Tail, you're given the ability to fly. Oh, that's it. We found it, everybody. Best Mario power-up. Everybody pack it up, go home. We're never going to be able to top this. Why? It's a Raccoon Tail. This is an incredible power-up. It's got enough strategy to still feel balanced, but it's also strong enough to still be a blast to use. But why a raccoon? Raccoons aren't well known for their flying ability. Unless there's something you guys aren't telling me. There's also a couple variations on the Raccoon Leaf. There's the Tanooki Suit. A Tanooki is a Japanese raccoon dog that's apparently pretty important to Japanese folklore. The suit's pretty much the same thing as the Raccoon Tail, except it's a full suit and can turn into a statue. Why wouldn't it? There's also the P-Wing, which is the exact same thing as the Raccoon Tail, except it has your P-meter constantly filled for an entire level. In terms of new enemies, we've got quite a few to round out the iconic Mario enemies. Chain Chomps, Thwomps, Spikes, Drybones, and Boos. But the big new addition here are the new bosses, the Koopalings. They are all pushovers. There's barely any strategy to beating them, just 3 bops on the head and they're done. And yes, it is that simple. For every single one of them, especially Boom Boom, who shows up quite a few times throughout the game and never gets any harder to beat. That's pretty much it in terms of additions. Wait, how long have I been talking for? Yeah, there's a lot. So what about the levels all of these new additions pollute? Well, they're great. First off, there are far more levels per world. Where previous games only had 3 or 4 levels per world, no world in Super Mario Bros. 3 has less than 8 levels. And the level design is pretty top-notch. Everything feels tailor-made to complement Mario's moveset. And the fact that the levels fit to a theme depending on the world leaves the levels feeling a little more memorable. Now, some of these levels are pretty short, but that's okay. It lets the game keep a much quicker pace, which is much appreciated. Another factor in that speed is that this game is way fairer than the previous ones. It barely felt like throwing my controller at all. This game didn't piss me off for existing, and every death felt like my fault. It was great. And hey, just because the game is easy doesn't mean it's not fun. I'm way more likely to come back to this game than the other 3. Since I actually had a good time with it, I actually want to play it again. That's nice. This is a good game. Let's talk about the things I don't like. This is an NES game after all. It's automatically barred from being perfect. So as incredible as Super Mario Bros. 3 is, I do have a couple complaints. Complaint number 1, when you die, you get sent back to the world map for some reason. When you're already forced to suffer through the... Whenever you die, the fact that you get sent back to the world map and have to walk back to the level you want to play is only really incredibly frustrating. And another thing with the world map, a lot of spots on these have pipes that you can take around to different areas, which is nice, but you have to play through this little screen where you come out of one pipe and go through the other. It's dumb. It was cute the first time, and every time past that felt like a chore. Complaint number 2, the end of the game kind of drags. One thing I forgot to mention before is that Super Mario Bros. 3 introduces a brand new type of level, the auto-scroller. These levels have the camera scroll automatically, which means you can't just blaze through a level, you only go as fast as the camera scrolls. These are pretty interesting. They create a new kind of challenge since you have to keep track of the obstacles for longer. It's a nice change of pace, and it's a really unique and interesting addition to the Mario series. I'm sorry, I can't say it with a straight face. They're terrible. Yeah, these aren't fun. Having the screen scroll automatically just completely kills the pace of the game and makes everything so tedious. And every world ends with one of these, except for World 8, which doesn't end with one, because half of the levels are auto-scrollers. This really soured the last little bit of my playthrough. I was really enjoying my time with it, and then World 8 throws like 3 auto-scrollers at you in a row and just completely kills the mood. And real quick, while we're on the topic of World 8, the final fight with Bowser is stupid. So you gotta get him to jump into these blocks so he falls to the pit at the bottom, but it just seemed like whenever he jumped was completely random, so I died a bunch of times. What? That's it. I said I had a couple complaints, and I gave 2 complaints. I don't know what else you want me to say. This game is fantastic. There may have been a couple level design moments here or there that I personally disagreed with, but hot damn, this is a good game. I can really see why this is a lot of people's favorite Mario game. After playing the previous 3 games, the jumping quality is so obvious. It's clear that a lot of care and attention was put into this game to make sure it was as good as possible. This feels like a sequel. It's not basically the same thing as the previous games with a couple minor changes that don't really matter like the lost levels, and it doesn't completely change the gameplay like Mario 2, which is not that game's fault. Super Mario Bros. 3 feels like the original Super Mario Bros., but better in every single way. This feels like it's the grand finale of NES games Miyamoto wanted when creating the first game, and that's awesome! So, now that I've talked about Super Mario Bros. 3, and to a greater extent an entire trilogy, can I go home now? I would really like to go home. Please let me go home. This is embarrassing. I hate the ocean. Please let me go.